Hey, truth seekers. In this video, I am going to explain how to win the dating game as an Asian guy, especially if you're an Asian guy living in a Western society like the US, UK, Australia, anywhere where you're a minority outside of Asia. But if you're living in Asian countries, this will apply to you as well, especially major cities where there's modeling, there's international travel, and there's a mixture of different types of people. Now, dating as an Asian guy in the beginning, if you have no clue, is harder. But as you get better in your dating skills, I would argue that dating as an Asian guy is not harder. It's just different. It's a different type of game. We're playing by different rules. And that's why if you're looking at dating advice on other YouTube channels or other courses, a lot of times the same advice that might work for a regular guy won't work for you because you're a minority, and the supply and demand and the subtle social cues that happen in dating are different for you. I could literally talk about this for an hour, but for this video, I'm gonna give you 3 tips that you can use right now that's gonna help you if you're a single Asian guy. The first thing is to recognize that there are attraction ratios in every country. What does that mean? Passive value is your style, how you walk, nonverbals, your energy, and then active value is your communication patterns, your conversation skills, your ability to calibrate in social situations. Passive and active factors are going to determine how different your attraction ratios are. But no matter where you are in your skill set, there's always 3 attraction ratios. There's going to be single girls that no matter what you do, you could be like the hottest Asian actor in the world, she's not going to date you, okay? She literally either doesn't like Asian guys or doesn't like dating out of her race, and there's nothing you can do to change that. And I've met girls like this, and there's nothing wrong with that. We all have our own preferences. The second group of girls are girls who are open to dating you if you can exhibit some sort of value, and this is the majority of the girls. The third type of girl are girls who actually prefer Asian guys, or she actually has an affinity to guys that are different than her that can show her something new that's outside of her life or her culture. You want to be able to target the second and the third type of girls, but the first thing you have to do is recognize the attraction ratio that, okay, how do I know by looking at her or just by having a 2-minute conversation that this is the type of girl that won't date Asian guys, or this is the type of girl that's open for me at least to start trying to run some game or trying to seek the truth between us? How do you know? One of the questions I always ask is, when was the last time you visited a place that you thought was really cool outside of the country? And the reason I ask this question is because I'm trying to gauge what we call her variety score. A girl's variety score is her affinity to try new things, be adventurous, and how much she pushes herself to be exposed to things that are different than what she's used to. Girls with high variety scores have a high attraction ratio, and girls with low variety scores, you want to save time and energy and just say thank you, appreciate it, and move on. Without recognizing attraction ratios, you'll always be wasting time trying to convince girls who don't like you to like you. It's like trying to sell water to a person in the ocean. There's just no way to go about it, and you're wasting your time. The second thing for Asian guys you have to understand is what we call cultural preselection. And I learned this watching my diplomatic dad as I grew up in different countries. In every culture, there's a way to lower your negative stereotypes or even flip them completely. And then there's a way to accentuate your positive stereotypes. And you make it almost like there's like an unattainability factor. They're like, I want to learn more about this. If you watch like Black Panther or movies that do this really well, they accentuate the positive traits of that particular culture, and then they make the negative traits almost positive. This is a trick that diplomats use a lot when they're overseas trying to negotiate deals between countries. For those of you that have traveled abroad, or maybe you lived in a different country, you'll know the term culture shock, right? I'll tell you a quick story. I was in Indonesia, and I had traveled a lot with my dad, and I was tired. And my dad got to Indonesia for his new post, and he took me out to one of his business meetings. We sat in one of the street restaurants, and I saw everyone started eating, but they were eating without utensils. And in Indonesia, there's a custom, especially in the street vendors, to eat with their hands. And my dad started eating with his hands. I was a young kid, and I started crying. And I didn't understand why I was crying, but later on I realized it was culture shock because I had arrived in a new country. We were just in DC. I was just so shocked with all the new customs, all the bikes, all the people that were walking, and now we had to eat with our hands. And so culture shock is just when you're injected with too many new things that just completely throw you off in terms of what social value is, what's acceptable here, what are the customs here. And so how does this apply to dating? When you're dating someone, you have to show them who you are, but you have to control the processing of that information. So for example, on the first date, I have no problem taking a girl to get some boba tea, but I might not order like lychee or that black grass jelly thing because it's just too foreign to them. Similarly, I might take her to a sushi restaurant on a second date if I like her, but I'm not going to take her to my favorite pho place, right? Just because it's too foreign. So you have to control the level of exposure slowly so there's no culture shock reaction. This is what we call gradual exposure in psychology, and it can work wonders. You're not doing it just for yourself, you're doing it for her. As you gradually expose her to different things, she's going to feel like you're taking into account her own sensory input and experience. And as she takes into experience all these things about you, she's going to feel more and more attracted to your culture. So it's not just for you, it's for the audience. Asian guys have different facial expressions and different micro expressions during our kind of dating process. I remember when I was dating my Asian girlfriend, the reactions like, she's speaking in Chinese and you're like, oh, really? That's so cool. Yeah. Oh my God. Ronald has this thing too. Yeah, we should all go together. Ha ha. Let's go. So it's very like more animated. And in Western culture, some people might view that as gay or metrosexual. But in Asian culture, if you watch Asian game shows or even Asian drama, it's a lot more feminine. It's a lot more like lighthearted, lighter voice, higher pitch, higher voice. In Western culture, it's a different kind of thing. So you almost have to adapt your dating style. There are three things that when I walk into a room and I'm trying to talk to girls, or if I walk into a date, there are three things that are really, really important. Think of them as the three nonverbals. The first is your eye contact. My eye contact is always a soft gaze. I'm gazing slowly. I'm not like, it's a slow gaze. The third thing is my voice tonality. So if you think about voice inflection, Asian voice inflections on dating situations usually higher up. Oh yeah, how's it going? Yeah, I love sushi too. And then you have a neutral voice tonality, which is, yeah, how's it going? I like sushi too. And then you have a downward, it's like, yeah, I like sushi. It's like, yeah, hey, how's it going? So as you're dating outside of your culture, the tonality should be more neutral rather than going. And lastly, your nonverbal expressions. Everything that's going on here in your face, all the micro expressions that if you pause this video and you slowed it down, you could see, come with practice. But more importantly, your body language as well. The way you move, the stance, it has to be a little bit more subtle. It has to be a little bit more dominant and a little bit more solid, if that makes sense. And if it doesn't, here's something you can do as homework. Go watch reality shows from Asia. You can find them on YouTube. Just type in Taiwanese reality show or Japanese reality show and watch how the guy and girl behave. And then for American shows, go watch The Real World or The Bachelor, any dating show in the UK or Australia. There's a really good one called Beauty and the Geek, where it's like a geeky guy with a hot girl. And you can see their body language and expressions. And you can see literally the geek, like when he starts out, he's very fidgety. And then as time goes on, he gets a little bit more confident. He gets a style makeover. And now his gestures are a little bit slower. Whatever your gestures are, slow them down by about 50% and just be more forceful in the way you move your body. Now, it doesn't mean like if there's like a fire, you're like, we should go get up our seats and go. Like obviously adapt to the situation, but learn to speak more slowly, be a little bit more stable in your energy, and most importantly, think about dominance is a big one. The Western idea of dominance is different than Asian idea of dominance. And so if you want to be able to become universally attractive, you usually, generally speaking, want to increase your dominance factor. So those are the three tips for Asian guys. I hope they help you. Number one, recognize your attraction ratios. Pick the right girl. That's half the battle. Number two, culture shock. Avoid culture shock. Gradual exposure to your culture. Focus on the end user and her experience. And number three, focus on your eye contact, voice tonality, and body language. Think about more dominance and slower and a more controlled energy base. Just those three things alone should start getting you results. If you need more help, there's a one unbreakable opener that I have for Asian guys in the link below, and other dating tips from me on an ongoing basis. So check out the links below, and I look forward to serving you soon.